Hey everybody, welcome back. So some of you have reached out to me recently and asked me what I have been printing since I have the Flashforge A5M completely enclosed. And while I haven't been doing anything really exciting, I have been working on a couple of projects that I intentionally postponed until after the 5M was all put together and done, because I just wanted the speed of it, because it's going to be a lot of prototyping. And while some of you might not really think this is interesting, I do. So I'm going to share it with you anyway. Now, excuse the white sheet of plastic. For some reason, I decided to print most of this out of black, and black on a black background does not show up very well. So I got that white sheet of plastic there to kind of help us. Now, these are two separate projects. The boxes are actually part of this project, and we're going to talk about that at a later date. Today we're going to talk about this one. And what all these pieces are is they're going to be a hat brim mount for a camera I bought. The camera is the Akaso keychain camera, and I picked this up quite some time ago, and I did a review of it, and I'll put a link to it above. This is kind of designed to be an Insta360 Go clone, an inexpensive one, and I got it like on a half price sale for like $59 or something like that. And it's a really interesting camera, and I think I have actually some valuable use cases for it. And it came with some mounts. It came with this little mount, and it's got a magnet in the back, and it's designed to clip into things, and it clips in pretty good. This little swivel mount got a sticky pad or something on the bottom. That's really of no use to me. This visor mount is actually pretty interesting, but again, I don't think it's going to be any use for me. And again, it snaps in with a magnet, and there it goes. And then there was a sticky pad that it snaps onto. You actually put this under your shirt or something like that, and it works pretty decently. And it came with a little rubber cover. But what I want is something like this. Now, I picked this up. This is actually for an Insta360 Go. Not sure which model. I got it off AliExpress for like $5 or $6, mainly just as something to look at to kind of determine if it's what I wanted. And you can see how it works. It's designed to snap onto a hat brim, like there's your hat brim there, and then you can have the camera above the brim or below the brim. But as you can see, it doesn't quite fit this, and honestly, I didn't really expect it to. I just wanted it kind of as a proof of concept for me. So the first thing I did was I created a housing for the camera, and that's this piece here, and the camera would go in there like that. And I made these little holes in the back. I was going to put some tiny magnets in it till I realized the magnet's in here, and all it really needs is a metal strip inside there to snap to. This fits the camera. This has some pins on it with some dots that stick up. And then I designed this to go on it. Now, as you can see, I made this way too thin, and I made it thin enough that I broke it, but I did put some dots there. And as you can see, if I can get it on without completely breaking it, the idea was it would do one of those, but it was so flimsy it never worked. I'll show you those in Fusion 360 right now. I am not going to spend a lot of time in Fusion because I know most of you are bored by it, but I am going to at least pop in and show you each one of these designs to kind of tell you what I was thinking of and where I went. So here is that first box design in Fusion 360. And as you can see, there's the little dots on the end, which I had planned on engaging dots on the holder arm. And at that point in time, I had just put a square hole in the back for a piece of metal or a magnet to glue into. And the matching mount, the really flimsy one I broke, there it is. There's where it clips onto the brim of the hat. And then you can see the matching dots around here, which again was supposed to give it some type of, ratcheting detent-like action when you rotated the camera up and down. So the next thing I did was I printed one of these, and these three all look really similar, and I can tell this was the first one. And one of the mistakes I made in this was I made this project straight out from the hat brim, which is not how this was. This went either above or below it. So I thought, well, I want to follow that one a little bit closer. So I made these, and these were designed at first to use this. And you can see one of the mistakes I made with the first one, it clipped in and it did one of those okay, but I didn't make the arms long enough so that it could turn around. So snapped onto a hat brim like that, I was either going to be looking at straight up or straight down. So that didn't work out too well. So I printed another one, and again, these are two. The only difference between these is the distance apart of the arms, if I remember right. I can't remember what changes I made, but this was designed to snap in again, and this time I had enough room so it could be rotate all the way around. And then I made a number of these, and you can see some of these were the first ones I made where I was just trying to get the size down correctly. And but then I made one where I made a hole in the back for a strip of metal, and I made them a couple of different sizes. And while I was making all this, I tested them out, and some of them just moved a little bit too easy. And I tried making the arms thicker and thinner, and I tried making the dots higher and lower. And it's all of a sudden, while I was out playing with one of these with the camera one day, it dawned on me that, and I will show these here in Fusion 2, at least these here right about now. And then this was my next idea, and you see it clipped on the brim, and then it held the camera either below or if you rotated it above the camera. And I made several different versions of this where I made these arms kind of tip in a little bit, which didn't really work. I made them thicker and thinner. I changed the little detent things around. I changed the hat clip around a little bit, and I eventually got it to work pretty good. But that's when I realized the camera is so wide angle that it really doesn't need all those adjustment positions. But after using this for a bit, a day or two, it dawned on me that I didn't really need that rotation. And on one of them, and I forget which one it was, I was getting the rotation, it wasn't a fine enough click. In other words, I was either looking straight ahead, or I'd click and I'd be looking up at the sky or down at my feet. And another thing I noticed was the camera has such a wide angle lens that I didn't really need rotation, or certainly didn't need very much. Sticking straight out from the end of the hat was fine, or level with the hat, or 90 degrees off, or whatever it was. So then this is the next one I made. And which one is the next one I made? It was this one. And I thought in this one, and I'll stop right here now and show these in Fusion 2. So then this was my next one where it has no rotational capabilities. The camera goes in, there's a piece of metal in that inset to clip on with the magnet, and then there is the hat clip off the back. And the hat clip, I have moved it up a little bit, so that you would have, it didn't sit quite so far below the brim or above the brim, so that you could flip it one way or the other and kind of get some adjustment of where the camera sat on the brim, which I didn't like that much either and didn't really feel like it was necessary. So then this is my final design so far. As you can see, I put a little bit of an angle down here so that the camera will tip up or down depending on the rotation, how you clip it to the brim. I added some extra filleting in, and I'm going to print one of these, I think, out of PETG and give it a try. When you hook it on one way, it will look down slightly, and when you rotate it 180, it will then look up slightly, and I think that is really all the adjustment that wide angle camera needs. But my first one of these, which I think I've lost, this just came straight out the back, so I kind of went back to my original design where the camera was going to come straight out from the hat brim. So I kind of went back to this design, and instead of having it be two pieces, I incorporated it all in one, and I made an inset for a strip of metal back in there. And I tried it for a while and I liked it, but then I thought, why don't I offset this a bit to one side, and then I could have it not hang down so far below the hat brim. And I kind of like that, but again, I kind of felt that wasn't really necessary, but that I would like some of this. Not a lot, just a little. Not enough to need a clicky thing in there, but just enough. So that's when I got, and you saw it in Fusion, that's when I got the brilliant idea just to kind of put a bit of an angle on here. Not much, only like 3 degrees, so that if I snapped it on the hat brim like this, the camera would be looking up slightly. And if I snapped it on the camera like that, it would be looking down just so slightly. Just depending on, am I out walking the dog and want to watch the dog, or am I out walking or driving the Jeep and want to be looking slightly up? I don't know. That was my idea, and that's what all these are.
So if you remember, I really didn't like the idea back in the beginning of having the camera stick directly off the front of the hat brim, and I've gone back to that feeling again. I just don't like it sticking off the end of the hat brim. I want it either above or below and back a bit, and it's just a bit too big to be below the hat brim if you wear your hat like I do. So I went back to the drawing board and I took my design, made a copy of it. I deleted back far enough to where all I had was the camera holder shell itself, and I did this. This is designed to move it up above the brim and back toward the crown a ways. Now, I think I'm going to be happy with this, and I did print one. My only question was going to be, is having this come straight off of the shell, is that going to give me the angle I need, or do I tend to tip my hat, the brim down too low, that once again I'll be looking at my feet? And of course I'm not going to know that till I print one and try it. And then there's also going to be the question of, do I fix it here in the design, or do I fix it in post-processing just by heating it and tweaking it? And let's go look at it and see what we think.
So here is that last print, and as you can see, I think I've reached my final, maybe not the final one I'm going to make, but I think I've reached the final configuration of what it's going to be. I like it like this. As you can see, I put it on the hat, I looked through the camera on the phone with the phone app, and I saw that it needed to be tipped a little bit, so I just kind of heated it right in here and put a slight bend in it. I could fix that in the design, and to be quite honest, if I were going to sell these or give these away, I probably would, but since I'm not, once I get the one I want, I'm probably done with it unless I break it. And I mean, that took, with a small heat gun, that took like literally 30 seconds to do. Now I've got it, and I actually put the piece of metal in it so that when you put it in, it snaps in. I didn't get it completely flat, so it rocks a little bit, which in and of itself isn't a huge problem, but it sits in nice and flush. Clip to the camera, clip to the hat brim, it goes back like that, and now when I wear the hat in about the position I normally wear it, it is right. And if I want to tip it down or slightly up, I can just move the hat on my head, which I think is by far the best way to do it, rather than going up and just clicking something here. Now, if the camera was less wide angle, that might not be good, but these are very wide angle cameras, so I like that. I think it's more unobtrusive. You don't notice it as much as you do with in fact, you don't really notice it at all as much as you do with, say, it connected out to the end of the brim like that. That is very obtrusive, very noticeable, and you feel it all the time. So, I'm liking that. I think I have seen the final configuration of this. I may tweak the design slightly, and I may just decide this one works perfectly. I also printed it in this orientation, or if the print bed were here, I printed it like that, which after it was halfway printed, I thought, well, now the layer lines are going straight across there. That was probably a mistake, but it's proved to be pretty durable, so I'm happy with it. I think that's going to be it. Anyway, next video, 3D printing video. I don't know what it's going to be. I want to do hinges on the top of the A5M enclosure cover. I want to show you the other design for the Holly projection box. So, not sure which it's going to be, but we'll do one or the other of them. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye for now.